Hi, welcome to the second part of my 10-part tutorial series, Learn C++ in 2 hours. Sometimes you may want to execute your code based on some conditions. For example, if you want to print the grade for a student using this table, then you would need conditional statements. And if you want to print the grade for multiple students, you would need loop statements. Let's start with conditional statements first. I have created a new file and now I can quickly create a basic structure of this program by writing hash include iostream using namespace std int main and return 0. Now I want to write a program to produce a grade based on the entered mark. For example, if mark is entered between 75 to 100, this program should print A grade, and B grade for a mark between 50 to 74, and similarly C grade for less than 49. To begin with this program, I must have a variable int mark to store entered mark. So first I have to ask the user to enter mark by writing cout statement, enter mark, and then write cin statement to get the mark into mark variable. In some code examples you must have seen std double colons and cout, and similarly std double colons and cin without using std namespace. So both work same. You can use either way to write your program. I prefer to use the former approach. Now once a mark has been received, we have to check whether this mark is within this range or not. And to do this, we have to write a conditional statement that starts with if. So if mark is greater equals 75, and by writing 2 ampersands and mark smaller equals 100. If the mark is within this range, we just want to print grade A by writing cout A. You can also add end line to add a new line. Let's test this program by compiling first and then execute. So here this program is asking me to enter a mark. So if I enter any mark between 75 to 100, let's say 80, it should give me A grade. Yes, so it is working. If I enter any other mark, it should not print A grade. So let's try it out. Let's say this time our mark is 70. So it should not print A grade. Yes, so it is working. So program executes from top to bottom, and in line number 10, it checks if the mark is within the range, then only it goes into line 11. Otherwise, it skips this line. So let's continue. Our next range is 50 to 74. And to do that, we have to write else if. So as we did above, we can write mark greater equals 50 and mark smaller equals 74. This time we want to print B, and we can add end line as well. So now let's compile again and execute. If we enter a mark between 50 to 74, let's say 60, it should print B. Yes. Finally, we have to cater for the last range. Here we can simply write else statement to cater for any remaining values. So we simply write cout C. So here in line 10, it checks if the range is between 75 to 100, it prints A. Otherwise, it prints B if the mark is between 50 to 74. And finally, if it does not fall either of these two ranges, then it prints C. So again, we compile and run. This time I want to enter 40. So it should print C. Yes, so it is working. So conditional statements are written with if-else structure. But you must have observed every time we want to enter a mark, we have to rerun this program, which is not very convenient for us. To have a better approach, we can use a loop structure. Loop means to execute a piece of code again and again. So we want these lines of code to run multiple times. And to do this in C++, we have to use while loop by writing while and open brace and close brace. A while statement provides a loop structure. So whatever we write inside open brace and close brace, it will execute multiple times. So we can simply move this code inside while loop. I can quickly fix the indentation. But there is a small problem. This loop is never going to stop. So we have to write a condition in here. When do we want this loop to stop? And to do that, we have to provide a new counter variable by writing int counter. We can initialize it to 1. So while counter is less than or equal to 3, it will keep on executing these lines of code. But the counter is always less than 3. So after every iteration, we must increment this counter by 1 by writing counter is equal to counter plus 1. So this is a complete while loop structure. Let us compile and run. Compile and then execute. So here it asks for mark. We can enter a mark within this range. So let's say that is 80. We are getting A. Now you can see the program does not stop. So the while loop executes the code from line number 10 again. This time we can enter a mark between this range. So we can have 65. So this is working. And finally, let's say mark is just 10. We should get C. So because of this while loop, our program has become much better. We have one more exercise to do. So just hang in there. There is another way to write a loop by writing for loop instead of while loop. So we write for instead of while. The for loop has 3 compartments. First one is to initialize a counter, which has been done above. So we move this counter inside the for loop, cut and paste. Second compartment is a conditional statement that determines how many times you want to iterate through this loop. And finally, the incrementation part. So we just move this code from here, Control X and Control V. We do not need the semicolon at the end. Done. So we just compile and run this code. So this will work as before. Only thing we have done is to replace while loop with for loop. So if I enter 10, it should print C. I enter 60, it should print B. I enter 90, it should print A. There is another simpler way to increment this counter just by simply writing plus plus. Plus plus is post-incremental operator. So in summary, we use if-else structure for conditional statements, and we can use either while loop or for loop to execute a piece of code multiple times. Thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to this channel to get similar videos. Thank you very much.